It's all you.
Come on along with Charles and me. We're gonna take you on guitar safari. So grab your cup of hot coffee. Hey, what the fuck about me? One volume, one tone.
He is off to an early start.
Hey, I can hear by the reaction that you might be slightly disappointed in this week's performance and preparation.
No,
it's been a hard week, man.
You know, if he hadn't graded us before we began, we'd be good.
That's just his attitude, you know. Yeah. He's got a thing, you know.
Good
morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Charles.
And welcome to Guitar Safari. Welcome, morning, Seth. How are you?
Safari folks, I'm okay. I'm good. This has been the week that the move's been happening since Thursday, so my legs are shot, and I'm a little bit tired. And I've been asked a lot of questions by my loved partner, but a lot of questions. Where does this fork go? Where does that bag go? Where does this box go? Where does this couch go? Where did that? So I'm getting over that. But hey, I'm so happy to be here with the community this morning because this is a good one. This is one that's gonna save people money.
Yeah, and that's always a good thing. And so good morning to everybody. You know, Seth, we have a new first person in the chat today.
Who's that?
Okay.
I can't guess. Do I know them or had they been here before?
They've been here before, but I'm not sure if it's a name you're overly familiar with.
All right. Go ahead and hit me. I'm not going to.
All right. So Dennis Ellis was first in the chat. Okay.
Gee.
Followed by our music-in-law, Ryan Hall. Quickly followed by Mark's Gas Station.
Gas it up. Gas it up. What up, Mark?
And then Riff slid in. And Riff is listening to us rather than watching us because he is out in the garage playing around with a motorcycle.
Oh, I don't blame him. I rode my e-bike halfway to the shop this morning because of moving. I had my car at the old rental and did my e-bike down. And yeah, that thing needs some tinkering. That's a whole nother thing to learn, huh? Like guitars but at least I got a bunch of the tools.
And Martin from L&M Guitar Corners telling us we're a little bit late for him because he just finished doing the maintenance on two of his most played guitars. But he's a pro. He's a pro, yeah. So you know
he's got it covered.
He shouldn't have to tweak too much after the show, right?
I don't think that we're going to mention anything that's going to be a revelation to him. Yeah. I think he's kind of got. I think most. You know what? This is just kind of reiterating stuff that most of our people know. Everybody knows this stuff, but it's just cool to talk about it and hash up the problems that we've all stressed over.
Yeah, it's just those reminders of the things, right? Sometimes we get in a hurry and we want to get to play in and we forget some things along the way.
Well, also, I kind of, this idea came a little bit from the repetitive time of people coming in, and honestly, all the guitar needed really was a truss rod adjustment or the high E saddle at the bridge had worked its way down and that string was on the deck. So this is to avoid and quickly assess those problems. It doesn't have to go to a luthier. You know, right. If you've got some tools and you've got some, everybody that comes here has got some kind of know-how and can probably do it.
Okay. And so a couple more pre-game showers here. We had Wayne McConnell that came in at 10:56.
What up, Wayne?
Really, Wayne, thanks for joining us yet again. We really appreciate that.
That's my man.
And my buddy, William Da Silva.
William, what's happening, my boy?
Okay, so again, William's got a great channel. If you're not checking out, you need to. And let's see, who else? Because I know I saw a couple of names. We have Unfucking Believable. That is going to ship if it kills me. I promise. It is going to ship this week.
You know what, Charles? Having this show does make us kind of accountable to a timeline.
Hanging on the wall.
Because the weeks roll by and you're like, his weeks do roll by. I know.
Well, do you want to know the real reason why it hasn't shipped? And it's the stupidest thing, right?
Yeah, I get it. Go ahead.
In the truss rod hole, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I fabric topped the headstock, and right at the headstock where the truss rod hole is where the eye socket for the skull is. Okay. And so I lined it up that way purposely. And so what I did with mine was I had painted the inside of the truss hole cover black so that when you look at it, you wouldn't be able to tell the truss hole cover is there.
Okay.
You know, the hole is there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, I lent somebody my black paint, and I haven't gotten any new black paint because, you know, when you lend paint, you don't get it back. It's just, that's given, right? And you don't expect it back, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
And so because I need to paint the inside of that truss hole, I just have not. That's the main reason.
You know, it's a good thing to have around. You should order a little bottle of it, and you could use it in a pinch. Is the shielding paint?
Yeah,
it would work for that because it's like an opaque. It would go in. It would just kind of seep into the wood a little bit, and it would be yeah. And they're like $6 or $8. I get a small one from Guitar Fetish because it lasts me forever. You can get a bigger jug of it, but it dries out on me because I don't, you know, do 50 guitars a week.
No, that is definitely something that's on my list. It's like
I have a little jar of it.
And if you haven't seen my video this week, you see where Martin helped me with a couple things on my list as well. So I really appreciate it.
Now, I know you can get better stuff than this. This is the same stuff. It's just in a different bottle. It's a little like that size bottle. So this will do, depending on how thick you go, 5 to 10 guitars. If you're doing it nicely, it'll do maybe 10.
There you go.
Right in the middle there.
And so we've got our buddy Ben Coombs in the chat.
What up, Ben?
And we've also been joined by Octopus Ears and Michael B. Live.
Terrible at the pointing.
And Gear Junkie 35. Awesome channel with pedals and all this kind of stuff. So you need to check him out too if you haven't.
Cool.
And we've got Graphite and Cigars.
Nice.
Blackjack Guitar. Herb of Fireside Studio.
What up, Herb?
Herb is saying that 2 cups of coffee.
I've had plenty. Sherman has had like 6.
Sherman has had more than 6.
Oh, yeah.
Sherman had the pot, made another one, and started over again. 6 is the second number.
And we should let the world know that for copyright purposes, his name is not spelled like the typical Sherman. It's Sure, like a Sir guitar, M-O-N, Sherman, but it's pronounced Sherman. And, you know, he was the first employee here at Press of California because I don't get paid enough. This is crap.
Yep.
He's been mad about the benefits, but, you know, he was born in China, so why should he complain? The benefits there aren't that good. Anyway, I'm just saying.
You didn't really go there. Okay. New name in the chat, Richard Poole. Thank you, Richard, for joining us. And we have Monch has joined us. And
Monch. How's it going, dude? You're working on some guitars, brother?
Monch, you are so right. Black nail polish would have worked as well. But if I wasn't getting out to get paint, certainly wasn't going to get out to get nail polish.
And Charles got out of his goth phase. I think it was only a couple years ago that, you know, he threw out the lower eyeliner and the black nail polish. He used to go heavy with all the chains, you know.
You promised not to tell.
I'm sorry. I thought, you know, it's okay.
That was told you in confidence?
Dude, I thought it was looking pretty good. I mean, he used to look like one of the members of my brain doesn't work this early.
A lot like Wednesday Addams, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that goes way back. A lot of people don't even know that. Hey, it's funny. So for today's topic, when I wrote out I turned it out to be an acronym, and I had to change the order a little bit because this is the order that I would do the setup. But the acronym, guess what the acronym? Well, I shouldn't ask you to guess. The acronym ended up being STAIN. STAIN.
Oh, you changed the order on me, did you? Okay.
Well, it's strings.
Yeah.
Truss.
Yeah.
Action.
Yeah.
Intonation. Nut. Stain.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
All right. So we'll go through it. And if you don't mind going through that order, or just when we go through, we can it doesn't really matter.
We are in that order, and I think we're good. Let me finish welcoming some folks in. And I know I'm going to, Bo, Guitar Man 45. Welcome.
What up, guitar man?
And let's see, we've got Ryan of OU812.
What up?
Welcome, Ryan.
Eight.
And I think that
One,
catches us up on the chat. And so,
boom, boom.
you know, Seth and I have this kind of Friday night meeting by text. And it says, oh shit, we haven't thought about the show yet this week.
Or we have thought about the show, but we haven't confirmed yet. You know,
Right.
It's been a busy week, and let's get a topic on the deck so people kind of know they're going into.
Yeah, and so we're kind of burning through ideas, and we got it. And we had some kind of out there ideas this week that we didn't go in that direction, but stay tuned because I'm sure they're going to recirculate back around, right?
Yeah, my dad in Maine had a great idea, but we're gonna go on that a little. We're gonna chat a little bit more before. It was a string thing. How many strings would you play? Man, we're probably gonna do that down the road here, but I didn't have enough examples of other instruments to really do that.
And I'm gonna have to come clean on something that's lurking underneath my desk before we do that show.
Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, let's do it. Break that thing out.
Oh, no, we're not gonna do that now. We can do that now.
Okay, all right. So then let's jump into this first part of the stain.
Well, that's where I was going.
Where
I was going. And you
all right,
see,
go.
you know, so we had
I'm terrible with segues.
So we had this idea, folks, of okay, what are some things that you can do from keep wasting your money at the Luthier so you can buy more guitars because you have to have that money to go on safari, right?
Totally.
Yeah. All right. So the first thing we were talking about was strings, right? What can I do with my strings to help me staying out of the Luthier's hands? So what's your advice on that?
Well, and also like strings are kind of a number one thing that people will bring in a guitar with a problem that they're stating is having this problem. It's not staying in tune. It's, that's usually a part of the strings. Anyway, having the right gauge strings for your guitar, using the set that came with it, that size gauge is usually the best just because the nut, unless you've done the nut professionally, you want to stay with that gauge or within one number. So if it came with 10s, stay with 10s. Don't go up a lot. You can usually go down without a problem. But properly seating your strings once you are properly winding them at the peg head, properly seating them into place, and quote unquote stretching the strings. Some people don't like to say stretching because metal doesn't stretch, but it does stretch. Stretching your strings, correctly stringing up your guitar, right? Getting into your, because people have a different trims. You got a Strat trim that's pretty easy. You got a Tele hardtail or a Strat hardtail that's pretty easy. You got a Les Paul with the stop bar tailpiece and that bridge that's pretty easy. And then you have the dreaded Floyd Rose, which is less easy. But if you don't know how to change your strings on your guitar, you're going to instantly start to encounter problems. It's going to be the first thing that you're going to bring your. People used to bring their guitars into us for string changes.
And so I had a couple questions, because you said you talked about, kind of stay with the strings that they've put on the guitar, the gauge strings. Mm-hmm. But I've kind of been, I've had guitars where they've come with 10s, but, 9s felt better on them.
You can go down typically. It's not going to mess the nut up. But a lot of people that are playing heavy chug will get a Strat style or a shredder style Charvel, and they'll want to go really thick gauge, or an Ibanez, whatever, and they'll want to go up in gauge so that they can chug, not take into consideration. Sometimes they want to go so thick, usually this is on 7-string guitars, that the string won't fit through the low B peg head. And so you've got to drill out the hole to get the thick ass string through there. That's always fun.
Right. So if it's okay to go down a gauge, but if you're going up, you may have to do some nut work.
Mm-hmm. And if you go down a gauge, you can expect maybe the truss rod will need an adjustment.
Okay, very good, very good. And so Ben typed into the chat. He said, well, you're seating the strings. You're not really truly stretching them.
Right. So around the ball end where those, where those twists are, that's going to pull tighter, and around the peg head, that's going to seat in. Um, but I do believe that metal stretches. If you put it under enough pressure, it pulls and it stretches until it breaks, right? Cables have snapped. So that's a thing. Anyway. But I don't disagree that I use D'Addario strings because I feel they're the best and they give me the best stability, and I don't feel like they stretch. But it is a thing. Like stretch the F out of your strings, dude. Stretch your strings a lot. And if you do it this way, that's fine. Use a stretcher, that's fine. Stretch them a lot. If you don't stretch them, you would come to me and you say your guitar won't stay in tune. And what I'll do is I'll pluck the string, and then I'll really, even if I do this one, it'll go way out of tune because it's probably not stretched. Stretch it and then pluck it again, and it'll be a much lower note. And I'll just be like, dude, no wonder it's not staying in tune.
Yeah. And Martin from L&M Guitar Corner brings up a good point. He says, when you're doing your maintenance, that's a good time to polish your guitar as well. And he asks, what we're using in order to polish up our guitars, especially for nitro finishes. And he's using the Lizard Spit products. I'm using the Guitar Nomad products myself. And I don't have any nitro guitars, but yeah, you're using the Music Nomad stuff as well.
That's for the body. That's the one spray. This is like the polish. If you got swirls and shit on a Gibson, that's a good one. All right. And then what's the other one I use? This is the deal for I've just been using this because it was a gift. It was like a Christmas gift, and I've just been using that for the fretboard.
Does that work any different?
It's pretty much the same. It's not quite as good as Music Nomad, but when you get something, you try to just use it up. But that's funny that they said that, because I had put in, since we were kind of morphing the idea into a setup, while the strings are off, right? Since we're going to go through, that is when you want to check your radius of your neck and your frets, so that later on down the road you can set your action accordingly. But while those strings are off, check that neck radius and your fret radius, clean all the frets and the fretboard, and tighten all of just everything, any screw on the guitar, just tighten it. And then quickly, while the strings were off, I would go through and do a tap test of the electronics, because if the pick guard needed to come out or anything needed to go on for that, I could do that without putting on new strings. So, okay.
Yeah. No, I like that. All right. So, are you ready for the next thing?
I'm ready for more coffee.
Well, just too bad you can't have any more coffee.
Oh, come on, sure, man.
All right, one sip. All right.
Yum, delicious. All right.
All right. So oh, no, sorry.
No, it's okay. Number two is truss rod.
Right. Number 2 is our truss rod. Okay. And so, what are your techniques for getting the truss rod adequately adjusted? And what are we adjusting when we're adjusting our truss rod here?
So people seem to me that they're afraid of the truss rod, and they're afraid, I think, because they don't truly understand what it's doing really. They have been told something, but they really haven't taken the time to go in and use a capo on the first fret, right? And use your finger on, some say the 12th, 13th, and I always used either the 12th or the 13th fret, just up where the neck joint is, right? To get that from the capo, takes the nut out of the equation, up to the 12th. And then go in at the 6th fret with your feeler gauge. And what you're looking for on an electric guitar typically is 6 or 7 thousandths of an inch. So you need a couple of tools, but they're not expensive. You go to any auto parts store, they're going to have the feeler gauges. Everybody should have a capo. Most people should have a finger. So those are the requirements, right? So, and then you're checking for that 7th thou. You got way more than 7th thou, tighten your truss rod. Your string's sitting straight up on the fret, and you tap it, and it's just hitting, skip.
Okay. It's a good idea. So that's really going to help us with making sure our neck is straight and making sure that our string height is where we want it to be, right?
Well,
But
the string,
other things
yeah.
we're gonna
So
adjust for
if
string
you
height, yes.
don't use it to adjust your string height.
Okay.
If you pick up your guitar and you notice that your guitar was, everything was set up a week ago, and you pick up your guitar and now the strings are either sitting on the frets, or they're way, way low, or they're way, way high, that's probably a truss rod adjustment, because nothing else really changed on the guitar. You didn't drive 1,000 miles with it in your trunk. It was in a case or whatever. If that has changed, it's probably a truss rod adjustment. So if it's high off the deck, tighten up a little bit. If it's down on the deck, loosen up a little bit. Get it to that 7/1000. Once you've done it 1,000 times, you can literally just look with your eye. You can do the one finger, other finger, and then with this finger touch and see what's going on, and kind of know when you pick a guitar up, like what's going on with it.
Very good. All right, so we have a couple things in the chat. I'm gonna circle back to number one for a minute. Fucking Believable has one of the Badlands guitars, right?
Oh,
and
fuck yeah.
And he was having trouble keeping it in tune, and it was really kind of goes back to let the guitar tell you what strings it needs, because he was using nines and it didn't want to stay in tune. He went to a hybrid set and it seems to have worked itself out, and so it looks like he's pretty happy now. And Monch is asking, is it Monch or no? I completely lost who it was. Oh, Martian Murray. Martian Murray was asking, how do you polish a fabric top? And here's the great news, Martian Murray. It is the same thing as polishing any other.
No, you have to go wax on, wax off. Wax on. No, Daniel-san, go up and down. So fabric top must be wax on, wax off. Actually, it doesn't have to be.
And with Seth is not around, you can polish it the way you polish any other guitar, because it's got, it has a clear finish on it just like anything else. So the fabric is protected. So, and it's going to be just as hard. If you're using 2K clear like I am, it's going to be just as hard as a finish as what you're going to have with anything else. And so you can maintain that the same way.
I'm just daydreaming about how inspiring Karate Kid was as a movie. I mean, come on. First, you just think you're sanding this dude's deck for weeks, and you're like pissed off, and then you get up and he's like, "You punch me, Daniel-san," and you're like, bam, bam. Now you know that you're a ninja. Holy shit, that was amazing. I'm gonna go watch that later on tonight.
I bet you are.
I'll dual watch it I'm doing my gummies with on Ben's channel. I love it, dude. Ben's channel is so funny.
It is, and I'm kind of looking to make sure we got all the number 2 questions before we move on, right? Wayne McConnell says there's nothing more painful to one's ears than the sound of a truss rod breaking.
It's only happened to me once that I know, it happened, and I know it wasn't I didn't go beyond the limit. It was just a faulty truss rod. It was in a Fender Geddy Lee bass. With I remember that snapping sound. I was like, dude, that was not. And I have seen my boss, my old boss, who's got these Popeye arms, crank truss rods unbelievably hard, because when I would get to the point where I think it's going to break and I'm pretty gangster, I would stop and be like, yo, Jeff, do you want to go extra gangster with this? And he would come over and go, crank, 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 crank. And I'd be like, oh shit. And he never broke one in front of me. So,
Well, that is definitely. Herb says your creamer is kicking in.
Oh, but that'd be a good idea. Special creamer.
Yeah, and Phil S. Norwich Guitar, welcome in. By the way, Karate Kid used the same techniques to beat Steve Vai in Crossroads.
Yes.
Oh, that's so funny.
Paint the fence. I wish I could do that with some kid who really wanted to learn Luthier. Polish the window frame. Clean the geo.
Somehow I think you're going to get there. And there's been a lot of talk about stretchability of strings and whether they can and can't be. And
it's a topic, right?
Yeah, it is definitely a topic. It gets into that same thing as tone wood, but really, in truth, what you're really doing is you're seating the ends of the ball ends and making sure they're in the bridge, and you're tightening up on all those little winds that are down there and the winds that are in your tuning peg, because you've got some gaps in them, right? And
what I think that they're saying when they say that strings can't be stretched is that they cannot be stretched under normal human tension. You're not going to grab a string and stretch it. And you even cranking it with a guitar under the pressure of a guitar peg, it's pretty highly unlikely that that is going to stretch that metal. But I guarantee you that if you put that string in a pneumatic device that's pulling out, that metal is going to stretch.
Yeah. It's so that conversation keeps going on. so we're going.
I'm sorry, physics is physics, and that just is what it is. And I'm not a genius.
Going back to truss rods. Unbelievable says truss rod, quarter turn check, quarter turn check.
So, quarter turn check, quarter turn check. And the thing is, knowing what to check for, knowing that 6-7 thou, if you got a bass, maybe 8 thou. Maybe a little more if it's giving you problems at the top of the neck, maybe reach out once you learn a little bit more and you're comfortable with adjusting it. But don't be the gigging musician that, doesn't have a backup guitar, gets to the gig and your strings are on your neck because it needs an adjustment and you're looking around, what do I do? What do I do? Don't be that guy. Right. Know enough about your equipment to do the normal adjustments. I'm not saying you need to know how to do a pickup change on the fly, but knowing the basics is something
know what to do to keep yourself going, right? And
it should be like a requirement, like they make sure you can swim before you go in the deep end.
Definitely. Octopus here says hearing the neck make noise when you're adjusting the truss rod is scary. Oh yeah. You start hearing that wood creak. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And if you get to a point, especially if you got a rosewood neck or any board that is not a full maple neck, that is a fretboard on a neck, if you get your truss rod maxed out and you can't go one way or the other, there's a good chance that you could still heat press it. But you're going to need to go to a luthier for that, and you can expect to probably spend a couple $100. But your neck's not going to be completely shot if you like the neck.
Right. So. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that brings us to number 3, right? And this is our action, yeah. And so checking our relief, adjusting it, and making sure we have the correct amount of relief in our instrument.
It's Stu Mac. I really like the Music Nomad one too. I just don't have one handy. I think it's in my little travel kit.
It's a lot easier to read.
A lot easier to read, yeah. This is just a standard action height gauge. So you'll have specs on your guitar. You'll probably learn what you like. I go thousandths of an inch is how I measure, not fractions. I do 60-50 or 65-55 typically. 65 on the low E, 55. What do you got in the chat? I need to get the chat going.
The chat is hilarious because Martian Murray says those guitars that you have to unscrew the neck to adjust the truss rod annoy him. But this is the comment that I was laughing at. Know enough to bribe a friend to be your roadie.
Yes. That's me. I am that friend, usually.
And that is some serious hardcore advice. And Herb of Fireside Studios said he always had 3 guitars when he played out, so he would be prepared.
Because he knows. He's also a man of our age. Like you learn over time, and you've been there, you've done it. He can probably also adjust his truss rods. But if you're someone who isn't happy and handy with that, then if you bring 3, then you're good. Because but I know Herb's got it. So string action.
Well, I'm going to add to this real quick before you dig in, right?
Yeah, go.
McConnell has the old school technique, right? The old school, that sage advice on the fly. He says, I just use an old nickel.
An old nickel to
to figure out his string height, how high it should be, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He's got it to where he's figured it out. A lot of people can do it by eye.
Mm-hmm.
My former boss could look at a guitar and tell you within 5 thou by eyeball. It was pretty disgusting, pretty good. His eyes had this, because he had also worked as a machine mechanic using small tolerances. His eye had this ability to see and call it out. Yeah. Oh, so I was going to do the action. Set your high E and your low E first to the desired height that you like, or to 65-55, because that's the correct height to use, because that's what I use. And then if you're born in 1974, definitely 65-55, or you're going to round there 5 years either side. And then you just set the other strings using the radius gauge to the radius that matched your fret radius. And if you have a compound radius, you kind of split the difference, right? If you got a 10 to 16, you might set it at a 12. Or set it to what feels the best. Where are you playing the most on the neck? Or, you want to match that radius if it's compound. But then that's where you start to get this guitar feels different thing from a stock guitar, right? You dialed in, you put the right strings on it, you stretch the F out of them, you clean the frets, clean the fretboard, you know what your radius is of your frets and your neck and your fretboard. Now you got your strings back on, you adjusted your truss rod perfectly so your neck is perfect. Now you're getting your strings into the proper height, and as soon as you get that radius set and it matches the board, you're like, oh, now you're starting to feel it. Now we haven't got to the nut yet, but we'll get there, right? So now you're starting to feel, as you play up, if you're playing up the neck and eliminate the nut, how a setup is starting to make it better than what it was.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So do you think
that's action?
Before?
Yeah, I mean that's action. But people has other stuff that they do, like the nickel or whatever. Call it out, because we're here to steal ideas.
I do like that nickel idea. I do like that nickel.
Leave that going, brah. Leave that hit. That was a hit.
Just the missus calling me in the middle of the show.
Was that you too?
No, that was the missus calling me. Like, okay, you know what I'm doing right now.
But it sounded like a riff that the Edge would play on guitar. Sounded like you too a little bit.
No, it is just a special ring for my wife that is already stock on the phone, kind of thing. But
yeah, I've got the kind.
It's a different ring than everybody else.
Right. Priority answer.
Exactly. And welcome, Trev Symmetry, for coming into the chat.
What up?
And so I'm just kind of looking to make sure I haven't missed anything, but I think we're doing pretty good. Because there's just a lot of chat going back and forth on things as we go. And I love that. This is becoming more of a community chat where folks are talking to each other.
It was a bummer. No Tony this morning. I was like, I know there was no Tony last week, so we were prepared for it. But then I'm never mentally prepared. Like my gear zone is like, and I was like, I got to talk about gear, or at least get in on the chat while I prepare to come here to the shop.
Well, Tony spoiled us in the past, right? Because in the past, he used to tell you if he wasn't going to be on,
I think he usually tries. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Usually tries to, but maybe who knows what came up.
And so it's one thing to do. So then you get the gear start working in your head. But really looking forward to next week with him then.
Well, you know what I'm thinking though, because remember he mentioned on his show last time that he was going to try a different time out of the blue, kind of out of the blue. And it was going to be an evening thing, maybe after Phil or something like that on a Friday. On a Friday, that'd be a good spot. I wonder what people would say in the chat if Charles and I jumped in and did a after Phil kind of thing. Like this started as an after Tony.
Well, this started out as an after 20, but there are, I think, other shows that are in that slot that are here with us, and we wouldn't want to horning on
Oh,
their
step on toes. Well, which ones are that? Because I usually don't even watch after, or I don't get notifications. I need to put my notifications on.
I know.
Who goes after Phil?
Well, I know that River Docs does a Friday night show, and I'm losing my mind about what the schedule is. But
I get it. I know. That's a big ask.
When you and I were looking for our time, we went through that and we looked at who was on when, and and that was why
Charles did. Charles is totally more like doesn't want to step, and I don't want to step on toes either because, dude, I've got 113 subscribers, bro. So, and actually, I don't know. William subscribed, and you can totally stay. I will. We're gonna kick somebody off the other end. We're gonna I think I got a cousin on there that who even talks to them. They can get out of here with that. Let William on the bus.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
With that, we better move on. Okay, so number 4 is our intonation.
Yeah.
Give us the rundown on that.
Well, there's a bunch of YouTube videos on how to do it. So, it's really about setting your tuning your string, checking it at the 12th fret, and then checking it at the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th fret, and making sure that it's in tune. Now, if it's sharp, then sharp is pull back at the 7th, right? And if it's flat, push forward. Because I always think of you'd fall flat on your face falling forward. So flat, you go forward. You fall flat on your face. And then something sharp, ooh, that's so sharp. You pull back. It's sharp. So you pull back. So that's how and I'm super dyslexic, but I can remember that. And so it's, forward and back. And it's pretty easy. It's tedious the first times you do it, right? But here's the thing. You do it about 50 times, you'll recognize, it's the same pattern. Like it's about the spacing usually. The gauge of string and the type of bridge is going to be like pretty similar in spacing to so you can do it almost after you've done it a ton of times, do it visually to start, then check it. Especially if you're just doing a bridge that wasn't set up at all or whatever. But intonation is so key to be able to play up the neck and really get good chord, good harmonic distribution, or like the waves that come out of the chords are equal to the waves that come out of the other chords around the neck. There's no big change in harmonic. That is key, and that's how a guitar sounds good. A guitar, you pick it up and you play chords all the way up the neck. And if they're all in tune and they all sound good, even triplets up at the top, you're doing those. That's when it's intonated. And if you've already got you got some good strings on it, you stretch the hell out of it, you cleaned up your board, you checked your electronics, you got your truss rod perfect, you set your action height and got your radius set perfect, and now your guitar is intonated. So now when you're playing up all the way, it's not only playing a lot better, but now it's sounding a lot better. And after the intonation, it wasn't on the stain list, but after the intonation, you'd want to wait to this point. After you have it perfectly intonated is when you should do your pickup balance for the output of your pickups. Typically, with a Gibson, usually I'm fighting a strong neck pickup that's usually kind of too big. So it's putting the neck pickup down far enough first, usually, and then bringing the bridge up as far as you can get it to make them nice and balanced and get the proper bite. Strats took me a while to get really good at it, because you can get stratitis, to where if you get the pickups too high, they'll pull the strings down, especially when you hit the string and it's doing its oscillation. The pickup being too high will pull the string down onto those higher register. So you don't want that. It's a balance, right? So you can turn the amp up, whatever. Go ahead with this funny chat.
Okay, so we were talking about adjusting our intonation, right? And of course, OU812 gives us that good advice to remember, that quick thing to remember, like you were talking about. He says flat forward, sharp slide back, right? Just kind of like what you were saying. And Ben adds in right after that, he says, or you could turn the same saddle back and forth, not noticing on a video for 20 minutes.
This is why I love Ben's setups the most, because they are the most accurate on the internet. I feel like my setups when I start shooting them or at my place is going to be very much the same. The honesty in here's this. I think he does stain. I'm sure that Ben is thinking like, yeah, I got a stain on all my guitar shirts because it's the same, that once you've done it a lot, you get into doing that sequence naturally because that you don't want to do the, truss rod before the intonation or, all of these things have a sequence. Yeah, I love those videos, dude, where you can't find a screw. Or he's like, we're going to come back next week after I get the pot that I can't find.
And there's some other really good things in here. Graphite and Cigars ordered the Ibanez intonation tool last night. So apparently Ibanez has an intonation tool that I'm not aware of, but he ordered it last night. So we're going to need an update on that when it comes in.
I wouldn't doubt, Charles, that their intonation tool, and I could be completely off base, would be something that's kind of like a action height gauge, but the lines are like just I was telling you how you can eyeball, like they're going to tell you to set it at a certain point, and they'll give you line representations of how far back each saddle should be for the, or there's probably a place on the bridge that you hold it and it shows you how far back you should move each saddle, which is doing exactly what we just talked about. Should we maybe design one? Some people out there that are smarter than me and more motivated than me are probably going to design one for a Strat. And what's his name? The dude that owns Music Nomad. He's all over it. He's probably going to do that. And
yeah, I can't think of the name either right now. But
Rand, R-A-N-D, Rand, like Randall. Maybe his name is Randall. Rand, I think. He's a genius, dude. I got to work being part of their, I wasn't really directly giving input other than like side sub input, but when they were doing tool development, I was in the room and working on guitars. It was pretty fun.
Well, we have some other things. Monch is saying if the intonation isn't perfect, he can't play it.
Yes,
it looks like Octopus Ears has got some new pedals that are coming in. So yeah, Sean Hockley is right. You better make that a video. Better be a series of videos. And our buddy,
what does Octopus have coming? Strymon or something?
I'm not telling you. You're going to have to go back and look
and watch his. Hey,
his videos.
Did anybody see Music Therapy Laz's pedal stash that he showed the other night?
I watched a lot of that show, and by the time
I just tuned in for a minute and I happened to catch some of this. He had like 4 pedal board bags. He kept pulling them out, and he's like, it was kind of funny because like on each board there's like 10 for however many pedals, and like half of the pedals is like, I'm not going to sell that. I'm not going to sell that. And I guess it was like a gear purge, but it was more of a realization of the stuff you're not going to. But I get it.
There was a lot of. It's hard to let go of stuff too. And I had sent him a message before the show began, right in the chat. It's like,
right,
buddy, just really strongly consider what you're getting rid of and what you're keeping, because regret is real. Just that whole idea. That
should do a. So I've thought of doing the regret show topic, right? We do a list of the ones that we regret, and I even have pictures because I sold all the guitars on Reverb. If you go to my Reverb, I think I'm up to like 100 guitars. So I got to touch and buy and sell and own almost everything, but then I also got to go through the remorse of realizing what I let go. And then, I got to go through the guitar pandemic where, 50 of the guitars that I had sold before, watch those prices go up to freaking double what they were when I sold them. It's coming back down though now for sure.
Definitely. Okay, a couple things in chat because we got to get to number 5. We only got 15 minutes left. year. It's been it has blown by. And so Dennis Ellis had come into chat really early, and he was really excited because he was going to have guitar practice, right? And he was going to have to watch us on replay. And so his practice got canceled, and he's in here saying hello to us a while back.
What up, Dennis?
And
Yeah.
Dennis, so sorry the practice got canceled, but we are glad you're here with us, brother. Okay.
It was practice with other band members, probably.
Yes,
And
it was
here's okay, brother. Here's what you do. You buy a Digitech Trio pedal, because that's what I did. Because it becomes, as you get older, it becomes more and more difficult to get your friends to show up, even when they want to, even when they love you. They have kids. They got soccer games their daughter has to go to. They got all this stuff, and even though everybody wants to jam, it's hard to get 2 or 3 or especially 4 knuckleheads all together to do it. So what you do is you get the Digitech Trio pedal, buy one used from someone who bought it and couldn't figure it out. Take the time to figure it out, and you will be able to create your own bass line. You'll be able to make your own drum however you want it, whatever genre. You'll be able to put your loop over that, and then you'll be able to play over that. And then you can sequence. So you can have chorus, intro, outro, solo, whatever, 5 parts of a song.
Wow. And I want to welcome in Hip Metalworks. Hip Metalworks has joined us. Ken, appreciate you being here. And he says, good day at customers on a Sunday. Can't wait a day. LOL, enough ranting. So sounds like he's got some work he's got to do under protest.
Hey, I hear you, but you know what? Make it when you can make it. That's what I was telling Todd when he was on tour, because you could tell they worked so hard going on tour, and they came through our city twice, and they sold it out both nights. But you could tell that the second night was the last night of the tour, and it takes a lot out of you. It's a hard job, but I was like, dude, get this money. I mean, literally, you're on stage playing your guitar, and he's so good at guitar that it comes naturally, and you're making all these people happy, creating all this good energy, and you're getting a paycheck at the end of, I know it's hard work, and I know you're eating some shitty food and whatever, but you should do it until the day that taps stop. And he will, because he's super smart and super cool.
He's that way. He doesn't mind doing it. He just needs to be able to rant about it.
It was a funny thing. He told me that in Boise, Idaho, a company came up and they were going to repossess their tour bus because they were renting it from a company, and so they're paying their rental fee or whatever, and the other company was subleasing it. So the actual owner showed up in Boise, Idaho, and said, "We're taking the bus." And they were like, "Oh, what do we do? We don't have a bus. We need to go." And I guess their tour manager was able to talk it through and make payments directly to the actual owner in lieu of. But how crazy is that? You come back and like all your gear's in your trailer, and they're going to take your bus.
Yep. Well, here's one last intonation comment, and then we're going to go to our number 5.
Okay.
Ralph had a question for Ben Coombs. How do I adjust the intonation on the Dan Electro wooden bridge? And he says that question is just for Ben Coombs. So Ben, you're going to have to reply to that on tonight's show at some point. All right, so number 5.
You can adjust it. It's kind of like a little bit like a. Should I give it up or no? I'll just
no.
It can be done, but it's not fun, and you might have to make another bridge. And also, some of those guitars. Here's what you should know about those guitars. Part of their sound is that they were never really intended to be perfectly intonated. They were built to be shot out of a factory and into underneath Christmas trees. So they weren't designed to have perfect intonation. That was more of a Fender Leo and a Les Paul thing. Especially Les was a player and wanted to get perfect intonation, wanted better sound.
All right. There you go. So finally,
the last one
is our nut, right? And so what are the things we can do with our nut?
Well, if you can make a little investment and buy some nut files, right? That is probably the best way to, and then you've got the feeler gauges that you already bought. at the auto parts store. So you're going to want to get 20 thousandths. This is for like a 6-string guitar, and maybe go 22 thousandths, 20, 18, 16, 14, 12. Okay. Get all those feeler gauges out, and you want to go into the nut, and at the low E, use the 22, 20, and see if there's a big gap, then file down a little bit. If you don't have files, there's a super janky way that you can do it. Okay. And I don't recommend it. You can probably find it on YouTube or whatever, but some people will take a lighter gauge string. If you're using the low E and it's a 46, they'll use the 5th string and then put a little bit of sandpaper around that, like a 600 grit, a little piece, and go in and use that like it's a file, right? It's going to take a long time and it's probably not going to work perfectly. But if you have no files and you've got no, and your strings are way off the deck and they're just crazy high, and they're, when you do chords, it's just out of pitch, then go for it. Whatever. You would have to replace the nut anyway. Worst case scenario, you blow the nut that was already a piece of junk anyway, and you got to replace it. So, get in there and do it. And then the other part was knowing how to fill a blown nut slot, which is most people have baking soda in their house, and most people have super glue, like a thin super glue with a little dripper, right? If you have a nut slot where the string has just blown completely through and that slot is so low that the string is now down on that first fret, you can take the string off very delicately, put a little bit of I actually use, I don't know where I found it, but it's a little 1980s cocaine spoon. I'm sure it is. I've got it right over here. It's like a little, I found it somewhere. It wasn't mine. It never really was my thing.
I don't know. I think you're telling on yourself.
Little cocaine spoon, but you grab that little thing and you go, bloop, 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 bloop. That's a good, that's not a cocaine spoon, officer. That's for fixing guitars. You go bloop, 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 into the thing, and then I take a Q-tip and I just clean up around it so that it's full pretty much of. Here's what you don't want to do, and a lot of people do, but it's counterintuitive. A lot of people want to take and press down and compact the baking soda into the slot. Do not do that, okay? Because when you compact the baking soda, now the glue, what the glue wants to do is drip down in between all those little crystals and solidify and create a crystal. If you pack all that down, the glue can't go down through all of it, and it'll go down through some, and you'll get a big glob of, or not a big glob, but a minuscule glob of uncured baking soda in the middle. So leave it uncompacted, leave it light, and then I hold the Q-tip at the back of the nut
between all those grains.
You want it to sink in, and so then I'll hold the Q-tip at the back of the nut to protect. Maybe if it's especially if it's a Gibson, I'll put down a layer of tape so that if any glue goes over, because you don't want to get glue on nitro, you're done. Right? You can get it on poly and you can get it off with uncure, but you get it on nitro, done. So I hold the Q-tip there, a little drop, let it cure for 20 seconds, clean it all off, blow it off, and then go back in there and file it out. Done. Good. And then
I guess it's like any other job, right? Any job you're going to do on your guitar, if you have the time, take the time, because if you rush it, you're going to have to do it more than once.
Yeah. Do what I do is like breathe deep and walk away. Those are my breathe deep, take a moment, realize you're just in the moment. Whatever you're stressing on, whatever you're about to do, you can probably wait a minute. And then if you're really feeling it, like it's like you got to feel it, right? Walk away if you're not feeling it, because you will screw something up and then you're just wasting your time.
Well, and then when things have gone wrong, that's when you recognize something has gone wrong, walk away immediately. And let your mind work on the problem. And that has been really true with me doing the fabric tops, right? There have been times I don't know how I'm going to save this. And just walking away, my mind worked on it for 20 minutes. I came back And I realized, okay, number one, it's not as bad as I thought it was. Number two, I've now got a plan to go forward.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely. So we are getting down to our 5 minutes. I have not managed the chat as well as I would have liked to today, but we wanted to make sure we got in all the things that we wanted to talk about. And I wanted to get in as many comments that directly related to our 5 steps as possible. I'm very glad that everybody got a chance to talk back and forth a whole bunch more. Because, like, for example, Philip Guitar just got a Katana Boss amp for bass lines, and he's put it into his Nuts work.
Oh, nice.
And
nice.
He loves the loopers. So him and Graphite Guitars are going back and forth, I think. And welcome.
Dude, the trio looper is the shit.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. And Music Therapy Laz is getting ready for his show, and he popped in and said hello to us. And so I have just posted the link into his show, because one of the things what was going on in chat was unbelievable. That's where we're going next. And so
where are we going next?
Is we're going to go ahead and we're going to raid into Music Therapy Laz.
Fuck yeah. I mean, heck yeah, we are. This got the hidden humbucker.
The hidden humbucker. And how did that come out? How does it sound, that hidden humbucker?
It sounds good. It's you can't really tell. There's not that big of a volume discrepancy. We'll go. So that's the hidden neck.
Hello, Ben Tom.
And then I just turned it up, so that's the neck. Then the middle. Then the bridge. A little bit of bite on the bridge. Anyway, that's a guitar. It's cool. I need to do that backplate. I need to get some a black backplate material. I need to get to
there you go.
This one. I only had mother of pearl and then this like white stuff, and I need a black switch tip too.
There you go. Looking good.
Thanks, man. It was a fun little build. It was a pivot build because initially this one was intended. That one was intended to have gold hardware and Bartolini humbuckers, but the freaking company that I bought it from, I think I sent you a picture back when I first got it. The pickup routes were not big enough for a covered Bartolini. I mean, for a normal covered pickup, but it fit uncovered.
That's right. It's routed for the mini humbuckers.
No, it's just routed for an uncovered humbucker. I don't know. Like, I wasn't able to fit the Bartolinis but these, this is a Bill Lawrence pickup, which is good. It's a good Bill Lawrence, and then this is a, oh God, I have a picture of what's in there. It's like a 16K older flat slug humbucker. Very powerful. It should really be in the bridge of like a shredder guitar, but when you put it under that pit guard, it softens it up, and it still gives it enough. It's got enough pull to make it happen. Excellent. I like doing hidden pickup guitars.
Well, I think it's definitely a fun idea, right? Even if it doesn't sound that great, because it's kind of hit or miss, right, depending on what pickup you use.
Totally. Well, I tried a couple of pickups before. I tried to put a rail humbucker in there, and it sounded like shit. That rail humbucker was like, oh my God. But the Bill Lawrence is okay. The Bill Lawrence is pretty good.
The Bill Lawrence works okay.
It's Sherman approved. Sherman approved.
All right. Well, once again, it is that time. It is 11:59 according to the clock on the wall and the one on the computer.
Thank you to everybody for showing up, man, hanging out with us.
And we got Steve Reservoir has shown up in the chat. Hey, thank you for joining the show. I'm sorry if I missed you earlier. And
but remember, the replay, 25% funnier.
That it is. And so thank you everyone for coming along on our journey once again. We look forward to seeing you next week. And of course, go ahead and visit Laz's
Like,
show. Starting
unsubscribe from Presley Customs. Like and subscribe to Charles. Go to Ben's show tonight. Bring gummies.
Charles Green is on Ben Combs' show tonight.
Oh, killer, dude! I can't wait.
Don't miss the stories, folks. John, how you doing? Okay, so we're wrapping it up here, and we're gonna go ahead and end our broadcast. But yeah, remember, some really great shows coming up later. We got Ryan at OU812 has got a show later today. Ben Combs has a show later today. His guest is Charles Green. You do not want to miss Charles Green show.
Thanks for coming on the bus with us. Thanks for coming on the bus with us. One volume, one tone.
Later, folks.